What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's Technique Tuesday. It's Gilmore week, and we're going to talk about David Gilmore's techniques. You see how that works? My name is Jason, here at the Players Club in Burbank, California. For you guys that are new to us, welcome. We're talking about players. We're talking about how they do what they do. For you guys that are members, howdy. Please give me a shout out in the chat so I can see who's here and say hello to you and answer your questions. That's what I'm here for. So anyhow, let's get to it. We're going to talk about some really cool David Gilmour solo concepts tonight. So even if you can't, or if you're not really too strong on your soloing yet, no big deal. You're still going to get a bunch of value out of this because the stuff that we're going to be talking about will make sense in the future if it doesn't right now. But anyhow, we're going to be doing step and a half bends. That's a signature David Gilmour thing. We're going to be doing double stops within the solo. We're going to be doing 16th note bends in time, and of course, phrasing. I mean, how could you talk about David Gilmour without mentioning phrasing? So let's get right to it and dive in with the step and a half bend. And this is a blues technique that many players use. It's not totally unique to David Gilmour, but he uses it so much in his soloing that I thought it would be valuable to show you as we move through here. So, what is a step and a half bend? Step and a half bend is basically you're bending a whole step up from the pitch that you started from, and then another half step, a step and a half. And I think Albert King, blues legend Albert King, was one of the first guys to really do this, and that would be because he was pulling down on his strings because the guitar was upside down. And you have to keep in mind that a lot of these British guys, David Gilmour included, were really influenced by the bluesmen. So what you're hearing is what they heard on their way up to guitar greatness. So the step and a half bend is when you start to go really high. So that would be a D, right? So if we take the 10th fret of our B string and we bend it up to that pitch, that would be a step. If we would go to that pitch, which is just above the D, it's one step past, or one fret past the D, you have, that's the step and a half bend. I also call it a supersonic bend. It just sounds like the note's going. So anyhow, you have to give the string a little bit more push to get there, and the technique to do that really lies in your thumb and your index finger knuckle. Those are the 2 points that are needed to get the extra power to get that note over the edge. So everybody go ahead and take your ring finger, put it on the 13th fret of the B string. Make sure that your index finger knuckle is firmly on the underside of the guitar neck, and that your thumb, if you can, is hooked around and is right on the side of the guitar neck. Let me zoom in so that you can see what's up here. All right. So you want to make sure that that is your foundation. Start by just squeezing those two things together. We hit the 13th fret and just give it that little extra push to get over the top. Cool? So go ahead and try that on your own. And as you're doing that, I'll talk through a few other points. You want to make sure that your fingers are pressing down on the board firmly all the way through. So as you bend the string up, you're continuing to push down into the board. If you hear your note stop like that, it means that your finger's coming off the board. So make sure that your finger is really driving through the board all the way up and all the way back down as you go through. So go ahead and continue to try to do that. And you'll start to get that real classic Gilmour sound. Right? Just really cool. Now, if you want to get super fancy with it, you can try doing a step to a step and a half bend. So I'm doing a whole step bend, and then as I'm at that whole step, I go that extra distance like this. Right? And I like to drop down just a little bit, almost to like slingshot it back, and then boom, hit it with you like this. Right? It's really cool. And that'll work on any string or any note. I'm just starting to get you the D pitch. But go ahead and mess with that for a second. Make sure you understand what to do. I got a track here. We'll try it. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, and then bring it back down. Go ahead. So it does require a lot of hand strength in your fretting hand, and that's again where you squeeze with your thumb and your index finger knuckle down here. Really make sure that that's driving the power, and that you keep your finger on the board as you push up to get to the note. Okay, so there's technique number 1, the 1.5 step or the step to the 1.5 step bend. Now something else that Gilmore does is he uses double stops a lot in his solos, and you can hear that in the solo for Money, you can hear that in the solo for Wish You Were Here, you can hear that in the solo for Another Brick in the Wall. So as a reminder, a double stop in your solo is when you're hitting 2 strings at the same time. So, right, in Another Brick in the Wall, he does that riff that sounds something like. So what you got is your index finger on the 10th fret of G and the 10th fret of B. So it's a bar, really. Now, the picking is really an overlooked part of this technique because you have to jab at it for it to sound really good. This is taken from Chuck Berry, really. So if you play it too light like this, it sounds muddy, right? So check this out. As opposed to, so although I'm just fretting one concept over here, my right hand or my strumming hand is jabbing at it to make that double stop really pop out. And I like to either rest on the strings, so you'll see my hands cover the strings like this, or let go of the fretboard, keep my finger on the string to make a staccato sound. That's the idea. So you have like that. Or you could use your fingers. Go ahead and try that. So make sure you're doing down strums. You're pushing from your thumbnail, like really like slapping those strings. And he'll come back to the root position right there. So you have the 12th fret of the D string. What's up, Rafi? Go ahead and try that for a little bit. Remember, just give it a slap with your strumming hand and make sure that you're popping off of the fretboard each time. I'll put the track back on. Okay, now the next part of that double stop is that you can take your 3rd finger and then go to the 12th fret of the G and the B at the end of it. Right, so you get that right there. You'll hear Jimmy Page do that. You hear Hendrix do that. They all do it. So it's a double stop, then 12th fret G, B. Same concept with the strumming hand, though. It's just a little pop with your strumming hand to make those notes really just like punch. That's the idea. So then a riff would be. Let me back it up. Okay, you ready? Let's try it. If you wanted to, you could bend that double stop up a little bit at the end just to give it that attitude bend, like just that little push right there at the end. The trick to that is to really drive the tip of your index finger into the board as you push those 2 notes up. It's just crisp, really, really good. Okay, so we have the step and a half bend, or the step to the step and a half bend. You have the double stops. And the next thing we have is the 16th note continuous bend. So you'll hear this in another brick in the wall solo, which we'll pull that up in a little bit here. This is a very challenging technique because you're moving the string and you have to engage and release your muscles quickly, but he's doing it in time. So it's 1E and a 2E and a 3 and 1E and a 2E and a 3, and then the and can be, or going back to the root position there. And I believe he does it way up here. But you do it wherever you like, right? I'm just showing you the technique. You put in whatever key you like. I'm going to do it on the 15th fret of the E string, just to make it easy and for the camera purposes here. So it's 1E and a 2E and a 3E end. 1E and a 2E and a 3E end. And then I'm coming off there and I'm hitting the 15th fret of the B string. That's the root if we're playing in D. The reason that this is tricky is not only the releasing and engaging of the muscle, but it's keeping the string vibrating. So when you bend the string, you're really starting to limit the number of vibrations that are left to keep the sound going, right? So you have to continue to push your finger into the board the entire time so that the string doesn't lose any excess vibration. You need as much as you can get. If I let up on that string just the littlest bit, listen to what happens. Really starts to die out. If I keep my finger really on the board, I'm able to keep the note going a little bit longer. So as you start to move these strings up and down, not only should you be increasing the tension in your fingers on the way up and decreasing on the way down, but you have to balance it by making sure that the very tip of your finger, the very, very tip, is on that board the entire time, like really pressing down. So it should be engaged during the bend up, light on the way down, aggressive on the fingertip the entire time. And count 1E and a 2E and a, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and whatever rhythmic subdivision you want. I mean, you could do one triplet, whatever you like. But the idea is to use that bend up and down to make it sound like a voice. Right? So it's a really cool technique, but it's not something that you can see. It's something that you have to feel. And again, what I mean by that is the muscles are going to tense up, the muscles are going to relax, but the fingertip has to be engaged the entire time. Okay? So listen one more time. Let me put the backing track on. So I'm hearing the rhythm, and I go 1E and a 2E and a 3 and. Right, there it is. 1E and a 2E and a 3 and. 1E and a 2E and a 3 and. 1E and a 2E and a 3 and. Now you try. Go ahead. I won't turn it off. You go ahead and try. 1E and a 2E and a 3 and. 1E and a 2E and a 3 and. That's tough, right? It is. That's a challenging technique, but it is something that he uses, and it's definitely a technique you want to have in your arsenal. Now, to that matter, I don't know if you would hear Hendrix do something like that, because it's to me it's too precise, and Hendrix is a little bit more open, and I've never really heard Eric Clapton do something like that. So I would say that this technique, the one that we just went over there, is pretty unique to Gilmore. And his playing is really proper. It's smooth and it's tasteful, but it's proper, very clean and very articulate, and it shows in that timing right there. One and a da and a da da. Right, so he has a real strong command for rhythm, like really understanding subdivisions of rhythm. So that's a very interesting aspect of the player. And that gets us into the final technique, which is phrasing. Okay, not that phrasing is really a technique, but the final Gilmore's technique, that we want to talk about, what he's famous for is his phrasing. So, what is phrasing? Phrasing is speaking. It's knowing when you've said enough and taking a breath. Okay, so it's not just rambling on and you run out of breath. It's you said your piece, you let it settle, you say your next thing, you let it settle, you say your next thing. This is why David Gilmour is so good. His phrasing, his ability to say a musical concept, lay back, say another musical concept, is unmatched. It's so tasty and it's so good. Mostly because he's a singer and he constructs his solos from the perspective of a singer, not a guitar player. He uses guitar player techniques within the knowledge of how a singer breathes and delivers lines. And I've talked to most of you one-on-one about how you can hear in some of these Pink Floyd tunes David Gilmour singing the solo that he's playing. If you check that out on Wish You Were Here, I believe you can hear it on Money as well. You can hear him singing in the background, and he's playing the notes over top of it, right? So that's just a fantastic way to really conceptualize soloing. And you put on any backing track, and we'll try it in the jam night tomorrow night, of singing a part or humming a part and then trying to play that. What it does is it takes you out of your guitar fingers and it focuses you to play more from the heart and more from a musical message, which is really what we're trying to do, right? And that's the magic of David Gilmour, is literally every solo that he created, you can sing back because he sang it. That's the idea. That's why it sounds so good. Let's put on the track here and let's give it a try. Back it up a little more, give us a little bit more room. All right, so you don't have to be a singer to do this, right? You could just do did-a-do-da-do, right? Something as silly as that. Did-a-do-da-do. And then I try and find that. Right? Did-a-do-da-do. Da-da-da-do. Did-a-do-da-do. Da-da-da-do. Right? That's how you create cool phrasing, is you say something, right? And it's going to give you a different melodic idea than your fingers would remember from another solo that you learned. So let me have you try it. I'll put the track back on. So go ahead and just say something. Doesn't matter what it is. And then try and play what you said. Ba ba bow. Da dum da dum. Do da ba ba do boo ba da ba do da do da ga do. Da 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 do da da do. I'll leave it on. Keep having some fun. Just make sure you're trying some of these techniques while we're doing this. What would be really cool is if you submit a video of you playing to one of these tracks, singing a part, and then playing it. I'm going to challenge you guys out there that are watching this to do that. So you can use this track, you can find any track, it doesn't matter. The technique is what we're after. Put on a technique, put your camera on, sing something or hum something, and then play it. Send it to me, email it to me. Let's see who does it. Let's see who's going to deliver. This is how you get good, right? Is you get uncomfortable doing these kind of things, but that's really what phrasing is all about. It's understanding when to say something and when not to say something. Anyhow, let's recap. So we have the step to step and a half bend, We have the double stops and that jab strum technique where we're trying to slap strings to make them really pop and sound alive. We have the 16th note bend, which incorporates the tension up, release down, fingertip pressure on the entire time. Then you have the concept of phrasing, right, which is play like you're speaking or play like you're singing. Allow breath and allow the listener time to consume what you did, even if the listener is you, right? We often use the term call and response, right? It's the same concept. Give the call, the phrase, give the response. So go back and review the video and then find a jam track, any kind of jam track. Start to apply this stuff. Tomorrow night, we're going to really apply it in the Gilmore jam session. I've got 3 really cool jams lined up for us. So we'll be talking about all of this again and putting it into motion. But again, I want to challenge you guys. Record yourself. I want to hear your concepts. I want to hear your phrasing. Email it to me. Till then, be safe. See you soon.